My girlfriend refused to use birth control. But she also didn't want me to get one. And that's where everything started going wrong. We've been dating since early 2023. Things were good at first. There weren't any major issues between us. We did break up once in early 2025. She wanted something more serious, and I wasn't ready. I had just come out of a divorce. But earlier this year, we got back together. We thought things would be different this time. And for a while they were. There's one important detail though. Earlier in her life, she had an abortion. And her doctor warned her about future complications. Because of that, she's very careful now. She doesn't want to risk getting pregnant again. And I completely understand that. On my side, I don't want kids. Not now, not later, not ever. I've been clear about that from the start. I didn't want kids in my previous marriage either, and that never changed. It's something I've always been sure about. We've talked about it multiple times, and every time my answer has been the same. I don't see myself becoming a father. She knows that. But at the same time, something about her perspective feels different. She doesn't want kids right now. But it doesn't feel like a permanent decision? And that's where things start to get complicated. We have a pretty active sex life. Sometimes multiple times in a row, and right now we only use condoms. At first, it was fine. It felt like the safest option. No arguments, no stress. But over time, it started becoming frustrating. Physically and mentally, it just didn't feel sustainable long term. I suggested other options. Things that would make it easier for both of us, but that's when the problem really started. She doesn't want hormonal birth control. She's worried about how it might affect her body, especially with her past. She doesn't want an IUD either, or anything that could interfere with her fertility. That's completely off the table for her. I didn't push too hard on that. I understand her concerns. It's her body and her choice. So I thought of another solution. If I don't want kids, then why not make it permanent? I suggested getting a vasectomy. To me, it made sense. It solves the problem completely. And it aligns with what I want for my future. But she didn't like that idea either. She immediately pushed back on it. She said I might change my mind later. She didn't want me making a permanent decision. I told her it can be reversed. I told her I'm sure about my choice. But she still wasn't okay with it. She asked me not to go through with it. And that's when things started feeling stuck. Because suddenly, every option was blocked. She won't use birth control. She doesn't want me to get one either, and neither of us wants a pregnancy. That only leaves one option: condoms. Every single time. And honestly, that's where the frustration started building. Because it felt like there was no middle ground. No compromise. Just one solution that neither of us was really happy with. I tried explaining my side again. I told her this isn't just about convenience, it's about long-term peace of mind. But she kept going back to the same point. What if you change your mind? That question kept coming up again and again. And every time my answer stayed the same. I won't. I've thought about it for years. I've lived through a marriage already. This isn't a random decision, but it didn't seem to matter. Because from her side, it wasn't just about now, it was about the future. A future where she might want kids. And that's when something clicked for me. She doesn't want kids right now. But she hasn't closed that door completely, and I have. That difference started to feel bigger and bigger. Because this wasn't just about birth control anymore, it was about life decisions. And suddenly, it felt like we weren't on the same path at all. That's when it really started bothering me. Not just the situation, but what it meant. Because this wasn't a small issue anymore. We weren't just arguing about protection. We were arguing about the future. And those two things are not the same. I kept thinking about our conversations. Every time the topic came up, it ended the same way. No resolution, just tension. She would say she doesn't want kids right now. But she would never say never. And that difference stuck with me. Because for me, it is never. I don't want kids in any version of my future. Not with her. Not with anyone. That's something I've been sure about for years. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized something. She wasn't just disagreeing with me. She was waiting. Waiting for me to change my mind. That's why she didn't want the vasectomy. That's why she kept bringing up the future. She didn't want to close that door. And that realization hit hard, because it meant we weren't just misaligned. We were fundamentally different. At the same time, I still cared about her. She's a good person. And I didn't want to lose the relationship over this. So I tried to ignore it for a while. I told myself maybe we could figure it out later. Maybe we didn't need to decide everything right now, but that didn't fix the problem. Because every time we were together, it was there in the background. That same tension, that same unresolved issue. And the more I ignored it, the worse it felt. Eventually, I went back to thinking about the vasectomy. Because from my perspective, it was the simplest solution. It removes the risk completely. No stress, no accidents, no constant discussions. But then I thought about telling her. And I already knew how that would go. It would turn into another conversation, another emotional discussion, another delay. And honestly, I didn't have the energy for that anymore. I had already compromised a lot in my life. And most of the time, it didn't end well. That thought kept coming back to me. Don't be a passenger in your own life. I don't even remember where I first read it, but it stuck in my head. Because that's exactly how this felt. Like I was waiting for permission to make a decision about my own future. And that didn't sit right with me. So I started thinking more seriously about it. Not just as an idea, but as an actual decision. If I know I don't want kids, then why am I delaying this? Why am I letting someone else influence that choice? The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This isn't about her. This is about me. And what I want for my life. At some point, I stopped seeing it as a debate. I stopped trying to find a compromise. Because there is no compromise in something like this. You either want kids, or you don't. There's nothing in between. And once I accepted that, the decision felt simple. I booked a consultation with a urologist. I didn't tell her. I thought about it for a moment. Whether I should say something first. Whether I owed her that. But I already knew what would happen if I did. It would turn into another argument. Another emotional situation. Another delay. And I didn't want that, so I went ahead with it. The consultation happened quickly. And surprisingly, there was an available slot soon after. Everything was moving fast. And for the first time, I wasn't hesitating. I didn't overthink it. I didn't second guess myself. I just moved forward. Because this was something I had already decided a long time ago, I just never acted on it. And now I was. The appointment came up faster than I expected. I didn't give myself much time to rethink it. And honestly, that was intentional, because I knew if I waited, I might start overthinking. I might start questioning myself again. And I didn't want that. This wasn't a new decision. It was something I had been sure about for years. I was just finally acting on it. So I went through with it. The procedure itself was quick. It wasn't some huge dramatic moment. It was simple, clinical, and done. And just like that, it was over. I remember sitting there afterward. Not feeling regret, not feeling panic, just feeling calm. For the first time in a while, everything felt clear. There was no more what if, no more risk hanging over my head. No more waiting. I had made a decision for my own life. But then reality started creeping back in. Because there was one thing I hadn't dealt with yet. Her. She didn't know. And that part felt different. Not wrong exactly, but heavy. Because this wasn't just a random decision. This would affect our relationship completely. I thought about telling her before. I really did. But every time, I knew it would just turn into another argument. Another emotional conversation. Another delay. And I didn't have the energy for that anymore, so I chose not to tell her. At least not yet. Right now, she's away. She had to travel for a couple of months, so there's distance between us. Which means I have time. Time to think about how to tell her. Time to prepare for whatever comes next. Because I know this isn't going to be easy. She already made it clear how she feels about it. She didn't want me to do this. Not because of now. But because of the future. A future where she might want kids. And now, that option is gone. At least with me. That's the part that keeps coming back to me. Because this isn't just about a medical procedure. This is about what happens next. What this means for us. Because the truth is, we want different things. And no matter how much we try to ignore it, it was always going to come up again. I just forced it to come up now, instead of later. Instead of dragging it out. Instead of waiting for it to blow up in a worse way. Part of me feels like I did the right thing. Because I was honest with myself. I didn't let fear or pressure control my decision. I chose what I want. But another part of me knows what's coming. That conversation, the one we've been avoiding. The one that decides everything. Because once she knows, there's no going back, no compromise. No, we'll figure it out later. It becomes real. And honestly, I don't know how she's going to react. I don't know if she understands or if this is the end. All I know is this, I didn't want to live my life waiting, and now, I'm not, but that might cost me the relationship. And I'm still trying to figure out if that was worth it.